Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new Tales from Retail stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Lady Returns 150 PCS of Fried Chicken. So, a few years back I worked for a large retail grocery company. And like most grocery stores, we have a deli section. I was working the returns desk, which I was still fairly new at, and a customer rolls up with a cart that had 2 cardboard boxes full of half-eaten fried chicken. I don't think I've ever seen that much fried chicken before. Me, hello, how can I help you? Customer, I would like to return this fried chicken. Me, what's wrong with it? Customer, I ordered this for a family reunion this past weekend. I took it home to my family, and when we got to eating it, it was all burnt and nasty. We weren't satisfied, and I'd like my money back. Asterisk, I'd like to note that she's still wearing her family reunion shirt. She's quoting our fresh food policy, which is 100% money back guarantee. So, I decide to follow through with the return, although in my head I'm thinking why anyone would buy fried chicken from us, ever. Of course it was going to be bad, our deli food is known for being nasty. Anyway, she hands me her receipt and it says she bought 2 orders of 75 PCS of chicken, totaling out to about $100. I do the return, give her her money back, and I come around to grab the cart of chicken. It doesn't end there. Later, I'm taking returns, claims back to their respective sections, bakery to bakery, frozen to frozen, etc. I roll the chicken cart over to deli, and the 2 workers greet me, confused. I don't remember who said what, so I'll refer to them both as deli. Deli, what's this? They ask. Me, claims. A lady came and returned these. Said they were burnt and nasty. Deli, and you took it back? Me, shrugs, yeah, it's policy. 100% money back guarantee. At this point they're now visibly angry. I have a mini freak out and start to doubt myself. Is that the policy? Did I do it wrong? I was still new at returns, so it's possible. Me, was I wrong? They tell me no and sigh. They ask what the customer looked like and I described her to them. They get more angry. Deli, she came in last weekend to pick up that big order of hers. Took us all day to make it. She comes in, and doesn't have enough money. Told us she didn't know it would be that much. She told us about her family reunion and how much it meant to her. She started crying. She only had about $80 on her, so we, the deli and bakery workers, decided to chip in and help her pay for the rest. All 3 of us looked down at the cart and cardboard boxes filled with half-eaten nasty chicken. This is why I have trust issues. The next one is titled, How I Kept My Job After Giving Away $150 worth of product. For about a year in high school I worked at an international retail store in the US. Employees of this company would get a 10% discount on merchandise. Naturally I would use this anytime that I bought things for myself. However, as a cashier you see all different sorts of people in all different sorts of situations. I was seeing single mothers with several children who are buying baby food, wipes, diapers, clothing, etc. People who are in situations where they obviously cannot afford what they're buying but they have to buy it anyways. I had the bright idea of using my discount to help them out, on the register or I was logged into, using my ID card. Do you see where this is going? It felt really good to see the looks of appreciation on these people's faces, so I kept doing it. I ended up doing it half a dozen times over the course of several weeks before management called me to the back room to have a chat. Apparently, whenever you use your discount on a register that you're signed into, it creates a red flag in the system. The manager who was supposed to be tracking that was on vacation for a week at the time and didn't catch it until I had already given away $150 worth of discounts. The 2 managers that were talking to me in the room brought me in there with the intent to fire me. They told me this afterwards. When they asked me why I did it, I explained that I was only doing it for the people who clearly really needed the help, and what I was giving discounts on. They shared a look between themselves for a few seconds and I could see a silent exchange happen. They decided to keep me around. The next one is titled, The Time I Told a Mean Old Man to Shut the F Up and Leave Me Alone. A couple years ago when I worked at a national hardware store chain I had an encounter with a mean older man. Let me specify that when I say I worked at the store, I didn't work for the store. This is important later. I worked for the company that supplied the flowers and shrubs and trees. But I was always at that store when I worked. For some background, I'm pursuing a degree in forestry, minoring in horticulture. I've taken 3/4 of the classes needed for a bachelor's in horticulture. For personal reasons I'm leaving it at that and coming back later for it, and I worked for 2 semesters in a plant biology greenhouse conservatory on campus. I also keep well over a dozen plants on my own. All I mean by saying that is that I know how to water plants. I also know that when you water plants that are for sale, needing to look nice, and bunched together tightly and frequently shaded, you want to avoid drenching the foliage so the plants can breathe and take up water to avoid root rot and the foliage dying. Presentable flowers get sold, rotting flowers do not. I was watering them by using a long handheld sprayer, shooting the water into my cupped hand and directing the water underneath the foliage with my hand. Honestly, I thought it was a clever move, since no one else watered them that way and 1/3 of our stock seemed to be lost to rot. In comes the 60-year-old man who tells me I'm doing it wrong. His wife is nearby. I ignore him. He tells me I'm doing it wrong again. I've had a long day by this point, it's hot and in the middle of the summer in the Midwest, and I'm irritated. So I keep ignoring him. Then he tells me that I'm wrong again and that I'm stupid for doing it the way I'm doing it. And that he's owned a commercial greenhouse for 30 years so he knows what he's talking about. After he told me I'm stupid for doing it this way, I turned to him and said sternly and loudly, "Shut the F*** up and leave me alone." He stood there for a second, a brief moment of shock. And then he yelled, "Where is your manager? I'm going to report you." Remember how I said that I don't work for the store? I looked at him and said, "He oversees 7 different stores in this part of the state, good luck finding him." It should also be noted that my boss was a woman, not a man, but I opted not to say that. At this point he was getting really flustered. His wife came over looking sheepish and put her hands around his arm and gently started pulling him away. Nothing ever happened, so I assumed he either couldn't find someone who cared or didn't tell anyone. The next one is titled, "Made a Customer Cry Tonight." It was the highlight of my night. It was a seemingly normal night, management not giving breaks, and overworking the rest of us. I was stuck on cash, as well as doing all the little things as well. When I do wait on customers, I always try to be polite and make small talk. And if they are wearing something I like, I will compliment them on it. Nothing too big, just "that looks really good on you," sort of thing. As I am checking people out through my mundane shift, a man and woman came through with a slightly emo style. Her hair was done up in these 2 elaborate ponytails and it looked kick-ass. I immediately complimented her upon it. She then stated how last time she was there she remembered how I complimented her on her makeup, and how she normally only wears this style around the house because she's not sure about what others would think. And then proceeded to tear up. I was stunned. I don't think twice when I say things like that to people, but the fact she remembered me and was slightly encouraged by it meant a lot. As I finished her transaction, I told her that it looked great on her and to keep it up. I know it's kind of stupid, but it just really made my night, and reminded me that even though you see a million faces a day, you can make a slight difference in people's lives behind a cash register. So thank you to all fellow retail workers, and may someone brighten your day as well. The next one is titled, "I Got Poached." It's 3 days ago. I'm wasting away as a burned-out furniture lead at a big box store home department that's getting worse by the day. I sell a table to a guy, he's really easygoing and we get along great. I've sold this table so many times that I know the 11-digit UPC by heart, so checkout goes extremely smoothly. Load up is also extremely easy because he has a truck, for which I thank him profusely. He comes back later to buy the matching bench, and asks me if I've ever done any bookkeeping. Turns out he owns a dental lab nearby and is looking for an assistant. Wants to try me because he's impressed with my service and product knowledge. We exchange info, I go in the next day to check it out, and it's absolutely fascinating. The job he has in mind for me is everything I've been looking for. Filing and office work, but also running pickup delivery for dental impressions and finished crowns, pouring plaster to make reproductions of patients' teeth, and learning how to use the equipment in the lab. We get to talking and I find that my potential new boss is not only kind, patient and caring, but unlike my current boss he is also competent because he's been in the field for over 25 years. We both think I'd be a good fit, so I go in for a short shift the next day. It didn't even feel like work. I met so many sweet people, did a ton of hands-on learning, and even caught a billing mistake that saved him nearly $100. Poured 3 plaster bite impressions, and apparently I have a knack for it. The whole time we talked about family, interests, his experiences in the dental field and the Air Force, all sorts of things. 6 hours just flew right by and I enjoyed every minute of it. It blows my mind how this just fell into my lap. I put in my 2 weeks with my retail job last night and I couldn't be more thrilled to start on this new path. I'm so happy to be working for a private company owned by one artisan as opposed to a corporate meat grinder. I'm just unbelievably grateful. The next one is titled, CC Signature Line says CID, so I'm going to need to see your ID. Working the register as lead cashier one wonderfully busy day, I had the pleasure of interacting with a rather lovely human being. This guy and his buddies were standing in line, not being too obnoxious, just a little loud. They ended up at my register, dumping their goodies on the counter while complaining about the wait. After thanking them for their patience, I tried to make small talk, but the guy decided to change the tone. He started making rude comments to his friends about cashiers. I get it, not my favorite job, but it pays the bills while I'm in school. So after I'd run through all his items, he swiped his card through the machine. As I was hitting the fun sequences of buttons to end this excruciating encounter, he decides he's not done being a jerk. Dude, you didn't ask to see my ID for my credit card. It's your job to make sure I'm not using a stolen credit card. He elbows one of his buddies to witness this mockery. Me, oh. Sorry. The system is running it as debit. Did you put in your PIN? Dude, it's not a debit card, it's a credit card. It's really not that hard. He holds up his card to show me. Look, it even says CID on the back of the card. I don't know about other retail stores, but we had already moved away from checking signatures on the back of cards against the signature line because by the time the transaction has already gone through. We don't have a definite policy of asking for ID as long as the back of the card is signed. Me, alright cool, can I see your ID? Dude, thank you, should have done that to begin with. He opens his wallet and begins fishing through his wallet, looking for his ID. After a moment a blank look crosses his face. I don't have it. Me, that's okay. I can take another form of payment. Dude, I don't have another way to pay, you have to take the card. Me, I'm sorry sir, once I've asked for ID it's store policy that you have to show it. So I know we have a policy for this process when it comes to buying alcohol. I just went with the logic that the same is true for credit cards. I was pleasantly surprised he didn't throw a fit at this point, but I had used his own logic against him. After the shuffle of shame into his group of friends, one of them moves forward, swipes his debit card and pays for the stuff. I thank them for coming in as they head out the door laughing, but this time it wasn't at me. The next one is titled, Guy said her car was only worth $2,000 because of a squeaking door. Hey guys. Long time lurker, first time poster. I used to manage an oil change shop. I was actually working by myself that day as I had the slowest store in the company. I had an older Chinese lady, probably mid to late 60s, pull into my parking lot in a decent looking car. She spoke some English but you could tell it wasn't her first language. She seemed upset. Now this happened at least like 8 or 9 years ago, so I don't remember specifically what was said, but this is roughly how it went down. Me, hi, how are you? Lady, can you help me? Me, sure, what can I do for you? Lady, Guy said car is junk, and will give me $2,000 for it and IDK what to do. So I take a gander outside and see her car. It was a 5 or 6 year old VW Jetta. Not new by any means but looks worth more than $2K. Me, what's wrong with it? Lady, it's running rough, and the door squeaks. So I take a look under the hood and the mass airflow sensor was unplugged. Plugged it back in and applied some WD-40 to the hinges. Started back up and it runs perfect. I went back inside and told her I fixed it, but I wanted to blue book her car for her so she knew what it was worth. Car came up and as being worth about $7,500. I told her that Guy was trying to rip you off and not to trust him. She told me that a guy she brought it to told her that the engine was junk and was only going to get worse, and that her door was about to fall off. Whoever this was clearly saw she knew nothing about her car and would be easy to manipulate, and tried to flip her car for a nice payday. I told her your car is fine and if you need anything you come and see me. She started crying and gave me a hug and went on her way. Didn't charge her a dime. Coolest moment in my many years of customer service. The next one is titled, 10K in damages over a 10-cent overcharge. This happened a few years ago when I was working at a large upscale beauty supply. Wigs, weaves, etc. Our register was a bit old-fashioned, so we had to punch in some items by hand. Usually not a big deal, but definitely left some room for human error. One day, a woman came in and my coworker pressed the wrong button and overcharged her by 10 cents. My coworker instantly realized what happened, and refunded her the money and gave her a few full-size free samples. But upon hearing that her refund would take a few days to process, the woman flew into a fit. At this point, I, being the manager, came over and tried to smooth things over. I offered her 10 cents directly from the register. She refused. She wanted the money in her account immediately. At this point she was screaming loud enough the entire store pretty much stopped operating. Every customer in the store was focused on the drama. The customer wouldn't leave, wouldn't take a cash refund, and only wanted a direct deposit of 10 cents in her account immediately. Then the lady starts screaming about how Chinese people are all thieves. I tell the lady I was born in VA, and she responds by telling me I came on a boat. At this point I see no possible peaceful resolution, so I leave her with the assistant manager and head to the back to call the cops. While I'm in the back I hear a sudden crashing sound followed by gasps. I run back out to the front and see the woman has knocked over an entire cosmetics display, breaking most of the products and damaging the display itself, while still screaming over 10 cents. She was dragged out of the store by the police, and we ended up suing and winning for around 10K in damages. The next one is titled, Customer Did Not Receive Her Order and Worries 3 months later. I work in a shoes store. When a reference isn't in the shop, we used to order the size for the customer. They receive it in their mailbox, usually a week after. This lady ordered a pair of sandals for her daughter at the end of June, but never received them. She contacted us mid-July. As usual, I call the customer service to have more information about the delay, and they tell me the shoes has been sent back because the postman couldn't find the address. I call back the lady to explain her the situation. Since she couldn't get her order, she had received a mail from the customer service offering a refund or to resend her the shoes under the right address. She never answered, so I left a voicemail and forgot about it. This week, almost mid-October, so 3 months after, the lady comes back in the store. I didn't remember her at first. She tells me that she ordered some shoes and that she never received them. No problem, I take her name and check it. The name is familiar and I remember the lady from July. I then ask her if she listened the voicemail I left her back then. She said yes. I asked her if she received the email from customer service. Again she answers yes. At this point I look at my colleague at the cash register and she seems as lost as I am. Then the lady tells me that she don't know what to do with this email. I don't want to sound rude with an obvious answer. I just tell her to answer the mail by giving her choice, resend or refund, and to give her bank account so they could transfer the money directly. I was ready for some problem like she couldn't answer it or something similar, but no. She just thanked us for the info and left the store. The next one is titled, You Work Here and You Act Like That? So I work self-checkout at my lovely local store. My manager has explicitly instructed us not to check people out. I follow this rule mostly because I don't feel like checking people out and I'm usually too busy anyway. So here comes someone who works in another area. She's off the clock, and she has stuff ready to check out. She approaches my register, sets her stuff down, and asks me to check her out. I'm a fairly soft-spoken person, so I told her very softly that no, I could not do that, but I have several self-checkouts open. She tells me she has week. Our self-checkouts do not take week. I tell her she needs to get in a manned line then. She says no, that I'm going to check her out. I say, still very softly, though I'm starting to get angry, that no, I cannot check her out here and she needs to go in a manned line. She gets angry as well, and tells me that I'm going to check her out. I say no, and then I walk away, as she was wasting my time and people were staring at me. At this point, I had several registers that were going off and people needing my help, so I did that. She continues to stand there, and when I came to a register nearby, she says, I'm still waiting. I mumble that she can wait then, and contemplate calling a manager to back me up. Over someone who works here. In the same store. She then tells me she is going to get the front-end manager, who's above the manager I was thinking of calling, and I tell her to go ahead. I later see her leaving a checkout line. This just happened today, and I'm sure she's going to report me, but I'll be shocked if anything happens to me. I'm just angry that she decided to come to me and act like a fool because I wouldn't check her out at self-checkout, even though she literally works here. The next one is titled, Customer Threatens to Sue Me Because He Decided to Jump a Turnstile. Quick backstory. So when I was just out of high school, I worked in a small liquor store in a high-risk area. Other than the pay, the job was pretty good and the manager loved me, took my side in basically anything cause I was usually right, and he had a policy that if customers are being a problem, boot 'em. So it's a cold winter's night and we're about to lock up. I'm mopping the floors while my coworker is closing out her till, and here they come. Our cast, me is op, my coworker is CW, and these two valued customers C1 and C2. As I'm putting my mop away, CW tells me I should come watch this on the security camera. There's two guys running at the store full sprint trying to make it before we lock up in 5 minutes. My rule is simple: if you get in before I lock the doors, it'll serve you, but if you take longer than 10 minutes after close, I'll ask you to leave with no purchase cause it's after 1 AM and I want to go get some sleep. So C1 comes barreling into the store, and instead of walking in like a normal person, he decides to try and jump the turnstile at the entrance to stop shoplifters from trying to run out the front door. And lo and behold, as he runs past the wet floor sign directly in front of the turnstile, he slips and only makes it halfway and collides directly with the arm of the turnstile tip to tip. His buddy helps pick him up, laughing at him, and they start browsing. CW goes outside and locks the doors and finishes up closing until my till is the only thing left to do. Lo and behold, their 10 minutes are up and they haven't made a single choice yet. I pipe up, "Hey you guys, the store closed 10 minutes ago, I need you to pick what you want now or leave." Well, C1 takes offense to me telling him that he has to leave the closed store and replies, "You know I got hurt on your property, so I can take however long I'd like, and you should be giving me everything I want for at least half off, if not free, unless you want me to sue you." Him and C2 started laughing and walking around and joking about what they should help themselves to. CW looks at them like they are idiots and tells them they can get the hell out of the store right now or she will call the police and have them removed. Well, once again C1 and C2 don't like being told what to do and walk up to the counter snickering and ask how we would like going to court. I look at them tired and tell them that right now they have two choices: one, they buy something and leave now, or we call the police. CW already has the phone all ready to go, and that we don't care if they sue us cause we don't own the store and his injury was self-inflicted. He ignored the wet floor sign, and tried to jump the turnstile when he could just walk through. C1, "Well, can I at least get a discount?" C2 at this point realizes that we are pissed as he grabs the closest 12-pack and says, "Okay, well, get this and leave." So here we are 20 to 30 minutes after closing and finally get to go home. Those two never did bother to come back or sue us, but I still made sure my manager got all the footage ready just in case. The next one is titled, Signs Everywhere. People still ignore. I work in a place that has two joined stores owned by the same people. It is a small group of about 5 total locations in the city. People know we have 2 separate stores in one building divided by a wall. The stores do sell some associated products, but generally depending on who you are and what you need, you'll fare better at one vs the other. Basically, the store I work at is the professional use stuff and the one next door is the personal, recreational use stuff. We have signs. Signs on the road visible from the highway. Signs over the doors. Signs on the doors. Signs inside the doors. Signs. People clearly looking for the recreational side will hesitate and read the sign on the door outside stating not only that if you need XYZ for personal or recreational use, go to the other side, but if you do not have a permit, license, and proof of occupation, much of the stuff in the professional side is off limits and we legally cannot sell it to you. They will then open the door, enter, read the identical signs inside, blankly stare at the signs, and approach the front desk. We are basically required to check credentials and ID of all people that come in. Even if we know them personally, because paperwork and clerical things can and do change in a snap. I get at least 5 to 7 people a day on weekdays, and 10 plus on weekends, closed Sunday though, that go like this. Me, "Hello. How can I help you?" Them, "I am looking for product X, where can I find that?" Me, "Excellent, may I see your credentials?" Them, "Huh? Me, credentials, they come on a card like your driver's license, and tell me you work for XYZ. Them, oh I'm a, insert any other occupation here, we don't have that. Me, are you looking for Y store? Them, yes. That's you isn't it? Me, no, they are next door, on the other side of the building. We only share this wall. Out the door and take a right and you'll see an identical door labeled Y store. Bonus points if they linger and insist on looking around. Anyway, there is really only one thing we can sell them without credentials: work boots. If they do stick around, we are also required to watch them like a hawk. Many smaller items we carry could be easily stolen.